Good morning, world. Little Shane here. So, managed to go to the gym today. Got 30 minutes on the treadmill. Yay! Um, Last week I didn't go to the gym because I ended up walking home with my walking buddy from work, Nick. Hey, Nick! And, but today, since we didn't walk home last night, I got to the gym with my gym buddy, a strange man who lives in my house. And it was a good time. I love going to the gym. It was fun. And, nothing else to be said about that. So far, good morning. I got asked a few times from friends, colleagues, students, what it was like for me as a child being visually impaired, particularly in school. Well, keep in mind, I was born in 1977. I didn't go to school till around 82, 83. My parents, to begin with, had a couple of strikes against them. The main one is they were kids themselves. I believe my mother was either 16 or 17 when I was born, and my dad was either 18 or 19 when I was born. Point is, teens was part of the title when of them. All right. So I don't know how to describe it. I had a harder childhood than some and an easier childhood than others, I should say. Both my parents couldn't grasp how poor my eyesight was. In fact, my father was, it was hard to describe how he was with me. I have a habit, even to this day, of bumping into things on my left side. I don't know why. I'm not sure what it is, but I always run into things on my left side. And I went to Park Street Elementary, and the jungle gym was made out of wood. And they'd have all these little splinters and jagged pieces of metal and all that stuff out along the side of the woods. So I would end up ripping my shirt, tugging on it, tearing it, little holes in it. Plus, they had a small little wooded area, which that's where all the kids wanted to go. If you went to Park Street School in the 80's, you know that there was an area that was all woods. The teachers never went in there. So if you went into those woods, you were prepared to live a 15-minute episode of Lord of the Flies during recess, because there was no teachers going in there. Oh, I'm sure if you talk to them these days, they'll say they patrolled it, but they didn't. I'm telling you, they didn't. Because there's no way we would have gotten away with half the stuff we got away with in there. All right? No way. It wouldn't have happened. That's where all the fights broke out. That's where the older kids smoked. That's where, we just did what we want. That was it. So if you went in there, at your own risk. But anyway, I'd always run into stuff, and I'd end up tearing my shirts or get coats or whatever. But my father, he knew I was a rough and tumble kid, and I did like to play fight and wrestle. And sometimes I'd rip my shirt from wrestling. That did happen. But if I went home and he asked me what happened to your shirt, I would say, oh, I walked into something. I snagged it on something, Dad. I'm sorry. And he goes, that's one. Tell me the truth. So I say, Dad, I snagged it on something. That's two. Tell me the truth. Dad, I snagged it on something. Smack! Give me a good cuff across the face or across the ass. So eventually I just learned, well, he doesn't want to hear that. This is what he wants to hear. Dad, I was wrestling. I'm sorry. Stop wrestling. So, yeah. But, he thought he was like this human lie detector. But he wasn't. He just assumed I was lying about something because I was a kid. Right? And that's another odd thing, a little off topic here. Parents who spank their kids or hit their kids as a form of punishment, it doesn't work, okay? Take it from me, right? And it's hypocritical, right? Like, here's what you do. Your child gets into a fight at school and then you spank him. Don't hit. How the hell does that make sense? Like, do you not understand how illogical that is? Like, do you not get it? And it doesn't work. I skipped school all the time from grade 3 up. My dad would go, he'd take the belt to me and hit me in the ass with the belt and say, "Don't you dare skip school." I'd start to think about it. Go, well, I can go 8 hours of school or take a 3-minute beating. So I took the 3-minute beating. Real good logic there, guys. So yeah, that's my side rant. I don't have to hit my kids. I don't even have to raise my voice to my kids. Right? My daughters, they get up, they make their beds, they clean their room, and it's done. Right? I just have to talk to them. I say, I need you to do this, please, and they do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they act up, they act up, and then I punish them by putting them on timeout or send them to their room. But I rarely have to do that. Most times, I just have to say, don't do it. This is why. Done. I honestly believe if you take the time to explain something to your kids, and if you come across as reasonable and rational, they'll listen. And I told this to my cousin, right? Because, she believes in spanking her kids. And I said, I don't do that. And I told her why. And then she went, well, then you got good kids. And I'm like, oh yes, Liza, I have the good kids. It's not the fact that I put the time and the work and the effort into it. No, I just got blessed with 3 miracle babies, one after another. But anyway, so I digress. Growing up in the 80s, when you're visually impaired, wasn't easy, right? It was rough, and it was rough in so many ways. I had it coming and going. My parents didn't understand my visual problems, so they expected me to be able to move as fast as them, or do things as fast as them, or when I cleaned up my room and I missed something, I should have seen that. So they'd get mad at me, right? Because they didn't understand. I'm not blaming them. I'm not mad at them. They didn't get it. They were kids when they had me, and they didn't know anything about what it was like to have my eyesight. School system, they sucked. Okay? They just sucked so hard. Going to Park Street Elementary, I might have had one good teacher there. Like one really good teacher there who actually took some time to help me. The rest of the Park Street Elementary School teachers back in the 80s, they sucked. They sucked donkey dick. And the reason why I say that with a certain amount of confidence is when they would write notes on the board, they didn't give me a copy of the notes. They didn't do anything. They just said, write your notes down. Well, I had to get up, walk in front of the board, memorize a couple of lines, go back, write it down, get up, walk to the front of the board, and all the while I'm hearing, Shane, get out of the way. Shane, move out of the way. Shane, get out of the way. And then the teachers would get mad at me, and then they'd wipe the board clean. And I'm not even halfway done my notes. So they didn't go out of the way to help me. So I started thinking, well, if they don't care, why should I? So eventually I even stopped trying to copy my notes down. And then eventually they dubbed me a disturbance to the class. So instead of trying to help me, trying to figure out what they can do with me, they took me from being with my classmates and they pushed my desk off into the corner of the room and left me there. Right? Now, I had a mobile and mobility teacher come in once a week, and they're from the Sir Frederick Fraser School for the Blind, I believe. And they would teach me all kinds of stuff. They would teach me how to read traffic, how to use a map, how to use the bus, how to understand how downtown Fredericton works. They worked well with me, and they tried to get the teachers to understand that I needed certain things for help. But it didn't work. They didn't want to help me. So one of the things they said was, well, you can borrow students' notes. But I can't read handwriting. Even to this day, I can't read other people's handwriting. I can't do it. It just all blurs together to me. And I try telling them that. So then they said, well, we'll have a student copy notes down for you. I just told you I can't read handwriting. Them copying notes down for me isn't going to help me any. But, they didn't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know if it was they didn't know what to do, or maybe they had too much on the plate. Because I did come from a time when there were 30 students per classroom or more. I don't know. I'm not sure what who's to blame there. All I know is that they didn't help me the way I needed help, and they didn't listen to me when I tried to explain to them how I need help. And junior high was pretty much the same way. I went through junior high. I had a couple good teachers. I had a teacher named Mr. Smith, Michael Smith. He was actually a former student of mine. Later on in life, I started teaching him Hung Gar Kung Fu. So that was kind of fun. He was good. He tried. Um, a handful of teachers did try to help me in junior high, and that was great. I had a math teacher named Mr. Levangie. He would give me copies of the notes, and then I started doing well in his class, and that was a great help. But I didn't really know how to fully read. Like, I could read basic stuff. Like, maybe by the time I was in grade 10, I was still only about reading grade 3, grade 4 level. But in grade 10, that is when the teachers really started giving me the help I needed. Of course, this was now in the 90s, and maybe there is more education about visually impaired. I don't know. It was also, I went to the largest high school in the British Commonwealth, Fredericton High School. At the time, it was close to 4,000 students in there. So maybe they were more enlightened there. Maybe it was just a sign that the times were changing. I don't know. What I do know is that they all tried. Okay? But elementary school and junior high, it was rough. No help there. But in high school, that's when I started to bloom, and I took up reading more seriously. In fact, I went from reading basic Curious George in grade 10. By the end of grade 10, I was reading everything. Everything I could get a hold of, I was reading. It's just like I learned how to learn there. And then university, they even went more above and beyond. They would let me record their lectures. They would give me copies of notes. They would give me extra time for my exams. Extra time for my projects. They went above and beyond at UMB, right? So, yeah, I was, I guess, in the transitional phase of being visually impaired going to public school, because I found out as an adult that my parents got told that I should have went to the Sir Frederick Fraser School for the Blind in Halifax. My parents were young, and they didn't want to send me to a boarding school. So they were told that, if they feel it's best for the child, they could legally force my parents to send me to boarding school. So my parents, of course, didn't want to reach out to the school later on. They felt intimidated by that threat. And I had mixed emotions about whether that was good or not. I ended up going to the Sir Frederick Fraser School for the Blind in, I believe, 92 for my grade 9 year. And it wasn't the whole year, it was like the second half. And the difference in education I got there was phenomenal. At Nassau-Sis Junior High School, there was minimum 30 kids per classroom, sometimes a little more. At the time when I went to the Sir Frederick Fraser School for the Blind, I believe there were 6 kids in one classroom. And then sometimes I'd go to like a different class. Like, that was like the homeroom. There were 6 of us. But then if I went to shop or gym, something along that lines, like when I was in shop class, it was just me and one other teacher. And we put together a golf cart. And he let me drive it. Crazy bastard. So anyway, so that was something, I have mixed feelings about that school. That was a great school for one-on-one teaching, but at the time they weren't teaching us, I guess, street smarts would be the way to put it. I went to school, there's one kid named Michael, and he'd get his disability check out at the downtown Halifax bank machine, and he would fan his money out walking away from the bank machine. And I grabbed it and I put it in my pocket. I said, "You crazy? We're downtown Halifax. You're doing this?" "Oh, you've seen too many movies, Shane. That no one's gonna rob me." I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was, just turning 15. I was like, "You crazy bastard!" you know. So mixed feelings. Um, you know, it was, like I said, a boarding school. I lived in an apartment with 4 other students, and we had to, they taught us how to, get our own groceries, how to clean a house. But that was stuff I already knew. It was kind of redundant, but they didn't know what my parents taught me, so they had to teach me from scratch to help me, to assess where I was. But that was a great place to go to, and I kind of sometimes wish that my parents had sent me there, because I think my education would have been a lot better. I would have been more prepared for high school and university. But it is what it is. My parents had the best intentions. They didn't understand my vision, and they were raised way differently than people are raised nowadays, you know, and they were children having me. So, did they make a lot of mistakes? Of course. But what parents don't make mistakes? With my firstborn, I made a lot of mistakes. With my other 2, I've done much better. It's not something it's not something you're going to know how to do right away. So that was that. That was a small rundown of what it was like growing up visually impaired. If you want any more stories like this, click that like button, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you have any quirky stories or anything you want to share. Anyway, that's all for now. Till tomorrow, you can do it and you're worth it. See ya.